What's up, guys? It's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei was neglected and became OP Part 2. Once again, if we can, let's try to hit 1,000 likes once again. And if you guys want to join Balance Breaker or Limit Breaker, it'll be the first link down in the description below, and that tells you my whole entire upload schedule if you do press the join button. Thank you so much for all the support on this series. Again, it's really awesome having all the support. And of course, if you guys want to subscribe to my Dragon Ball channel, it's Popowski, and Fallen DxD is where I just screw around and review anime, is what I'm going to make that channel. So thank you so much for the support, and without further ado, let's go ahead and thank our Balance Breakers. Rob the King, Lachlan Yates, Atomic Warlord 58, Seth Voiles, Ant Lewis, The Beast YT3, Colex, Joe Baldwin, Russell Getchell Jr., Madara Uchiha, Refik 135, Keep Saying 21, Blue Lightning, Sinrar Q, X Datapati Gaming, Vera with hashtag 2347, Sanitate, Stephen Cruz, Ziki 2000, The J-Boys, The PS Gamer, XOR X108, Mr. Wolf, Jordan Patchow, Mazaku, Dr. MLG_ is the bomb, Asamotus, Crimfire Shot Gamer, That Round Guy, Zero Fusion, Soresponder, Nick May 98, God Said Wine, Chaotic Raven. Thank you so much for becoming a Balance Breaker. And without any further intrusion, let's go ahead and roll into part 2. We are starting off right at Ravel's flashback. Ravel couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at what her beloved Issei-sama just told her. When he came looking for her, she was overjoyed that she could properly apologize for the earlier situation she and her mother unintentionally caused. Of course, Issei-sama, being kind and benevolent man that she knows, he has just waved off her apology and told her everything is fine, although she could see the pain behind his eyes. She knew that wasn't in any position to help her hero, so she did the only thing she could, offer her full support, and if he ever needs anything, which surprisingly cashed in right away, after explaining his training plans to her and outlining the potential dangers, he asked for her in a very special item. So is it possible to get any Phoenix Tears, Ravel? I know they're kind of scarce at the moment, but I'm willing to pay any amount just to get a little bottle, pleaded Issei. Ravel just blushed at how cute he looked with those puppy eyes. Although he said was true that the Phoenix Tears are extremely rare to obtain, you are correct, Issei-sama. I think they are scarce, and I don't know if we'll be able to buy some, but if you give me an hour or so, I can prepare a small batch with my very own tears as the ingredient. I can't tell how we make them, but I can give them to you. Think of it as a small token of my appreciation, stated Ravel, with a soft smile on her face as she watched Issei-sama's light up like a Christmas tree. He rushed over and scooped her up into a fierce hug, earning a cute demure eep from Ravel's lips as she had an atomic full-body blush at being embraced by her precious Issei-sama. His next words really sent her over the edge, though. This is even better that buy them. I trust you, Ravel, so your tears will definitely be a best plus when I drink it. It will be like part of you will always be with me, said the clueless Casanova, unknowing of efforts and the effects such a word had on the maiden heart of Ravel. The poor girl fainted with the blissful expression on her face, leaving behind a bewildered Issei to only scratch his head in confusion. The flashback ends. Ravel smiled happily at the memory. She couldn't help but feel closer to the man she adored. Plus, with the situation, as with Rias in the ORC, she finally had a chance to win his heart for herself. She might be kind and a sweet girl normally, but she is also a woman in love, and she plans to use every advantage she gets to be number one in Issei-sama's heart. He already placed a great deal of trust in her by telling her the plans he made instead of anyone else. She was not going to betray that trust. She just hopes that he comes back to her soon. Stay safe, Issei-sama, Ravel thought with a loving smile. Scene change. As he looked out of the dusty landscape of the mountains region he was residing in, Issei nodded to himself, satisfied with the place supply his training ideas. In his grip, held firmly, were 3 bottles of Phoenix Tears that Ravel had prepared for him. He smiled softly at the thought of his cute kawaii. She really was a wonderful young woman. After a moment's contemplation, he shook his head clear of any thoughts and focused on what he was about to do. "Are you sure you want to go through with this, partner?" questioned Drake. He wasn't really concerned about the health of Issei, as he was confident his partner could survive what they were about to attempt, but more along the lines of a final verification of the deed. "Yeah, Drake, I know this is risky, and the chance for death is stupidly high, but I can't go back out now. It's do or die for me, literally," stated Issei, resolutely. "I understand, partner. I just want you to know you're not the first to attempt this, and I'd like to point out that none of the previous hosts survived the transformation," said Drake. There was an undertone of seriousness in his voice. I understand, Drake, and I'm ready to face the consequences. I may not be the grandson of the original Lucifer, or a descendant of a legendary hero or some prodigy, because when it comes down to it, none of that matters. I finally know who I am, and I know where I'm going. For the first time in my life, I feel comfortable in my own skin. It doesn't matter what people think of me anymore. I may be shameless pervert, and I'm not some genius, but I have the will to never give up, and I fear nothing. Not even death, declared Issei, with a fierce expression adorning his face worthy of the Red Dragon Emperor.
Huh. Well said, partner. I expect nothing less from you. Now that all the mushy stuff is out of the way, walk me through your suicidal plan again,
queered Drake. Issei just ignored his sarcastic comment, and he soldiered on his explanation. Ever since the fight with Riser a few months ago, my left arm has been permanently that of a dragon's, due to me sacrificing it for power. With that being said, if you have the power to turn any part of my body to that of a dragon, you can probably undo it as well, which you already have done, to my now/human/devil arm. I've known you could do that for a while, and the only reason I didn't ask you to undo the dragonification is because the method of extracting power from the arm is way too stimulating. That, however, isn't a concern anymore. It therefore occurred to me that instead of complaining about having a weaker body than a pure-blood devil like Saraori, I can make use of the priceless tool I have at my disposal. If you were to change my heart to that of a dragon's, theoretically my entire body would morph along with it, and the heart pumps blood throughout the entire body, including the brain, via circulation system. My body will therefore adopt dragon characteristics internally, and maybe even some external changes. Theoretically, this would enhance my senses, strength, stamina, endurance, and probably magical capacity, as well as an exponential level, therefore raising my base stats to the point where I don't need to constantly wear my balance breaker for every fight. Save it for when it's really needed, explained Issei.
Again, I'd like to point out that nobody has ever survived this. But I know you're too stubborn to listen to me. I would like to know why you have Phoenix Tears, though. And don't give me the same lie you gave the Phoenix Girl about possible injuries in training and having the tears to heal you just in case, questioned Drake.
Suddenly, Issei had an almost maniacal look on his face, and his smile creeped even Drake out. Do you remember when we fought Volley, and I had the idea of using one of the gems that broke out of his sacred gear and take the power for myself, which we succeeded in doing, by the way, even though I don't have full access to it, questioned Issei, with Drake feeling a shiver crawl up his spine at the impending sense of doom he suddenly felt. Issei just continued his explanation without paying any attention to his discomfort.
Yes,
prompted Drake curiously, not liking where all this conversation was headed. Well, if we could absorb and integrate the power of Albion, the direct and complete opposite of you, and succeed, which should have been impossible, what's to stop us from doing the same again? You remember all the strange things happening in the world, don't you? Kiba's holy demonic sword, all the balance breakers currently at play, not to mention the subspecies balance breakers, the system as its large holes in it, metaphorically speaking, and I plan to exploit those opportunities for myself. The reason for the Phoenix Tears are that before you proceed with transforming my heart, I'm going to directly inject the tears into my heart via syringe. At the moment, you should begin process immediately. While transforming my heart to that of a dragon, I want you to also analyze and adapt and absorb the properties of the Phoenix Tears into my bloodstream and make it a permanent effect. Since the Phoenix clan received their abilities from an actual phoenix, which is being of fire just like you, it will be easier to absorb the power of when it compared to Albion. Therefore, when the process is done, I should have a dragon heart in my body with the healing magical properties and phoenix flowing through my veins, finished Issei, with an utmost smug look on his face after his explanation. Drake, on the other hand, was incredulously at recklessness of his host.
Are you out of your mind, boy? If you remember, you had a few hundreds shaved off your lifespan while you absorbed Albion's power. Not to mention, after activating the Juggernaut Drive, a few months ago, you barely have 100 years left to live. The dragification, as it is, was a huge risk to your life, and survival is slim to none. By adding this reckless plan to you, you almost guaranteeing your death, stated Drake bluntly. His host was a really interesting one, and certainly the most likable one he's had, and he didn't want him running headfirst to death. Issei, though, seemed nonplussed, the dragon's reaction seemingly already accounting for the Aphrodite factors.
I've already thought about that, Dreg. I don't want to die, and I don't plan to anytime soon. What you're forgetting is that the reason taking Albion's powers was so brutal was that he is the atheist of you. Your powers weren't meant to mix. It was unnatural. The Phoenix Tears, however, are one of the most magically imbued substances in the world, but more importantly, they're the greatest healing item known to man. By absorbing and assimilating them into my body, my vitality will increase exponentially, along with giving me a higher regeneration factor, not to mention my magical capacity should reach an even further boost. If anything, when all this is said and done, this should effectively add a few more years to my lifespan, explained Issei. He thought long and hard about this and was willing to take the risk, as the rewards were worth it. Dreg was silent as he digested all, and said he realized that this little bastard had a point. If this really worked, he would receive a major boost considering how powerful his host already was. It really is a terrifying thought. It started off as a grin before evolving into a full-blown maniacal laughter by the heavenly dragon. He could almost picture the look on Albion's face when his host smacks around his precious so-called strongest Irakako to ever live. And the man was image a beautiful one. He really was right in saying that Issei was the best host he ever had. There's never a dull moment with him around. Issei, on the other hand, just sweat dropped at the bipolar behavior of the ancient dragon. I really am surrounded by unstable individuals. Syscon, Serzex, and Seraphal, and mad scientists Azazel and Ajuka, battle maniacs Volley and Cyra-Org. Damn, why did all the crazies flock to me? Thought Issei. Depressingly, his so-called normal life was really gone down the drain. Oh well, concerning what he was about to do, he can't really call himself fully sane any longer.
Okay, partner, you've convinced me. Let's do this. When you succeed, you're going to be a whole new person. I'm estimating you will be around 70% dragon, 20% devil, and about 10% human. Adding in the Phoenix Tears will give you an amazing regeneration factor, which you have already been high due to dragons having one too. On a smaller scale, when compared to a Phoenix though, plus your pathetically abysmal magical capacity should skyrocket for being almost non-existent to probably around high mid-class or low high class in terms of power. Brace yourself, partner. This is gonna hurt like a bitch, warned Dreg.
Issei nodded and extracted all the vials of the Phoenix Tears with a large syringe. He lay on the ground and placed the needle just above the left side of his chest. He took in a deep breath, though. All was about to happen in the last few months, from Rainier to becoming a devil, seeing Azia and defeating Riser, attaining Balance Breaker, then the Juggernaut Drive and defeating a god. He really has come a long way from hopelessness loser at school to a powerful Red Dragon Emperor he was today. He finally had the confidence in himself to be free from the expectations and opinions of those he thought he needed control of. He was finally his own man. He thought about all the people who helped him along the way and was thankful to them. From the ORC to Azazel, Tani, Noni-san, Volley, Kuroka, and Ravel, he was ready to say goodbye to this chapter of his life. Goodbye to the ghost of Rainier, and goodbye to being the naive and gullible pervert. He was ready to begin the next stage of his life. He was ready to take control of his own destiny. I'm ready, Dreg. This marks the day, the rebirth of Issei Hyoudou, my red rebirth, whispered Issei before he injected the entire contents of the syringe in his heart. The last thing he heard before the blindly unbearable amount of pain racked his body was the voice of his partner. He smiled as he slipped into blissful unconsciousness.
Leave the rest to me, partner.
And that is the end of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. A cliché protagonist training montage. Pain, unimaginable, excruciating pain, is what Issei experienced before his mind couldn't take the strain on his body and forcefully shut down. He wasn't sure about how much time has passed. As the soft and soothing rays of the sun bathed him in the essence, he felt himself slowly regaining his mental facilities as he lay on the ground. Before he could fully comprehend his situation, he was hit by a multitude of scents and sounds, so much that he unconsciously grabbed onto his head in vain in an attempt to stem the pressure caused. He could smell the fresh dew on the grass, as well as the dirt, the distinct aroma of each flower in his immediate surrounding, as well as the smell of blood and sweat wafting from his body. He had no idea how his sense of smell got this powerful in the first place, let alone how he was able to comprehend the different scents. He could hear the birds chirping overhead, and wind softly blowing through the grass, and trees as well babbling. Brook of water, assumed from a stream, which he knew was just a kilometer away. of these sensations. Hitting it once was a bit disorienting, as he raised himself off the ground. It took him a few minutes to regain his bearings before attempting to walk his cottage not too far from where he was. The key word attempt, for as soon as he tried to take a step forward, he seemingly tripped over absolutely nothing and fell flat on his face. Cursing a god which he knew he was dead, Issei pushed himself off the ground. He had to steady himself. It looked blurry images of his arms, though. His vision still doesn't come into focus fully. He was feeling bewildered at the moment as he tested out his limbs and flexed his body while standing in the same place. Now, Issei will never claim to be a genius, nor is he stupid by any means. However, being the physical fighter that he is, he was immediately familiar with his body, which is why he immediately picked up on the fact that his arms and legs felt a little longer, not to mention his entire body felt heavier. This was the reason for tripping earlier, he realized.
"Welcome back to the world of the living, partner,"
stated a deep ancient voice from within him. After taking a deep breath and regaining his cognitive functions, he realized and recognized the voice of Drake. Drake! Boy, am I glad to hear your voice. I feel a little funny right now. What's going on? Did the transformation work? Questioned Issei worriedly. Even though he wasn't afraid and didn't mean that nothing could go wrong, he learned the hard way that as a red dragon, a situation can go from fine to dandy to fucked up beyond repair in a matter of seconds. Luckily for him, Drake eased his fears.
"Relax. Everything went off without a hitch. You just need to take some time to adjust your new body. As well, as you may have noticed, your limbs are longer. Added to your muscles, which bones have become a lot denser, which is why you feel heavier. You also shot up a few inches in height. Take this time to go through some exercises to adjust the changes while I give you the report of the other changes in your body," suggested Drake. Issei nodded in the acquaintance and started to make through the various exercises from sit-ups, push-ups, jumping jacks, as well as shadow boxing, as well as a few other reacquainted with his balance, reflexes, and nises. As so did Drake, listed the differences in his body. "As predicted, you are mostly dragon now, with a small portion being a devil, an even smaller fraction being that of a human, which was necessary if you wanted to hang on to that sacred gear. As stated before, your bones and muscles were constantly torn and reformed till it got to the point of its current density. Your body has also optimized itself to accommodate the spiritual and magical changes, hence the reason for your increased height. Senses and even your nervous system has been accelerated to the point where you can literally form thoughts into nanoseconds. Magically speaking, I put your capacity at just behind that of an average high-class devil, which may not sound like much, but considering your original capacity, which was almost non-existent, this is a huge improvement. Plus, you have the power to double it every 10 seconds or indefinitely in balance breakers, so for someone like you, these reserves are nothing short of monstrous," explained Drake. Issei couldn't help but sweat drop at the 34-tall hulking behemoth of red scales calling him monstrous. "With the regards to affect the Phoenix tiers, it looks like your suicidal gamble and paid dividends. The minor regeneration you received from the dragification was enhanced exponentially, from Phoenix tiers to the point where, unless it's an instant death injury like decapitation, you will be able to fully regenerate any part of your body, including lost limbs. It not as fast as a Phoenix regeneration, nor does it provide you with being free-flowing body they possesses. You are still very much flesh and bone. If someone cuts your arm off, you will bleed profusely till it grows back. It's not instantaneous, but it's not that far being behind instant either. Although it may seem inferior to a Phoenix abilities, it is in my opinion better form, as it doesn't rely on your magic to regenerate you like they do. You will still regenerate even if your reserves are 0, as the ability is ingrained into your body at the deepest level. It also boosted your vitality and stamina, which again, thanks to the dragification, your natural predeposition were already high. I estimate about 30 years were added to your lifespan form. The exposure to such a rich source of healing, all in all. To paraphrase, the kids of today, you're OP as fuck, deadpan Drake, at the unbelievable luck his partner had, luck or sheer. Again, Issei was a little out at the mighty Red Dragon Emperor, one of the 2 heavenly dragons, and one of the strongest beings in existence, calling him overpowered.
Hello, Pot. My name's Kittle. Disregarding the hypocrisy of the dragon friend, Issei was immensely pleased with the results of his experiment. Sure, it could have easily killed him, but it didn't, and now he's become a lot stronger than ever. In the end, it was more than worth it.
Damn, I'm such a badass, exclaimed Issei with a gritty tone in his voice.
He couldn't help, he felt like a whole new person. He could literally feel the power brimming his body. His muscles felt tight and coiled, like a spring waiting to burst into action. He remembered all the crap people spoke about him, from being the weakest red dragon, from the way those stuck-up high-class devils treated him like he was inferior. It may be a little vain of him, but his new body and power filled him with something he severely deprived of, due to being constantly being betrayed for being a pervert, and his burning desire to please everyone in hopes of gaining some respect, acceptance, confidence. He felt he could take on the world and bitch slap it to the dimensional void. Drake, who was listening inside to Issei's head, just had a deadpan expression on his face and has ridiculous thoughts of his partner. Issei finally, exerting some control over his motor functions, made his way to his cottage. He needed to get cleaned up. Not to mention, he felt really hungry. Decided to ask Drake something seemingly overlooked in his excitement. Hey, Drake. How long was I out for? Questioned Issei. He was in far shock at the answer, though.
5 days, give or take, a few hours,
stated Drake bluntly. What? Shouted Issei, his mind reeling at the fact that he was almost out for a week.
Quiet down, brat, before you rapture my eardrum. Did you really think it would take a few hours to complete such a delicate process? Your body was literally being torn apart and recreated. I took it a while for the heart to fully integrate with your body, and that time it pumped a rigorous amount of dragon blood through your veins to catch up to the rest of your body. Even then, 5 days is a bargain if you ask me. It could have been worse, advised Drake. Issei just swore under his breath. When you put it like that, it sounds as though I lucked out, but I can't help my reaction. I almost a week of training time, and now I only have just under 2 months. Damn, I'm gonna have to train twice as hard, Issei stated before mumbling under his breath in his training plans. You seem to overlook the fact that you were already powerful before. With the dragon heart and your new body, your base form right now almost equals the power you had in your balance breaker state. You don't really need any training. You already improved leaps and bounds. But I know saying that is not going to stop a training freak like you, so with regards your time issue, leave that to me. I've got a perfect solution in mind, said Drake mysteriously. Issei could almost see him rubbing his hands together in a scheming manner. Anyway, he trusted his partner. If he said he had a solution, then Issei would rely on him, as he finally reached his cottage and stripped off his dirty, blood-stained clothing and put it in a hamper. He was walking towards the bathroom, passing by a full-body mirror, when he did a double take. The eyes comedically wide as he stared into the reflection. While feeling the changes in your body was one thing, seeing them really put into perspective, seeing them after believing it all. The first thing he noticed almost immediately were his eyes. His once plain brown eyes now stared back at him, a striking shade of emerald. It was easy for him to get lost in such a startling contrast. His new eye color, he noticed, greatly resembles the color of jewels on his sacred gear, a side effect from a change. He also noticed his vision was alarmingly clear to the point that he could literally see the tiny dust particles floating in the air. The next modifications he picked up on were the overall shape of his body. Before he was reincarnated, he was fairly average in terms of his build. After spending time on the mountains with Tani and being infected with the training bug, he bulked up quite nicely and gained some solid definition on his form, which was nothing to sneeze at. Now, though, he looked though his body was carved out of marble. He had a lean and perfectly defined body with perfectly outlined his solid-looking muscles. He wasn't bulky like some clunky bodybuilder hopped up on steroids, but he certainly wasn't small by any means. He had more swimmer's build that looked like it was built for speed and power. His shoulders were broader and his arms and biceps more pronounced, with a powerful-looking chest and perfectly sculpted six-pack outlined by a V-shape that most women would kill for. His leg muscles, he also noticed, were defined to perfection. All in all, his body excluded a lethal, deadly grace similar to that of an apex predator. His height also shot up from the modest 5'8" inches to an intimidating 6'2". His face, he noticed,
also lost whatever baby fat that looked a lot more sharp and angular, with his eyes being more narrowed, giving him a dangerous vibe. A dangerous vibe. His brown hair also looked a lot tamer. It still had some spikes, not more controlled and graceful. His hair also grew out a little, stopping just below his shoulders, with a few strands falling between his eyes and his bangs, framing his face, stopping the short covering of his eyes. Think like Ichigo's hair after the Den guy, basically. He wouldn't be vain enough to call himself a bio shonen like Kibo or Volley, but he wouldn't deny that his looks were really, really good. He had more of a rugged bad boy look that Azazel pulls off so well, going for him. All he needed now were some tattoos and a piercing, something to consider for the future. As he looked even lower, his eyes boggled at the size of his junk. He wasn't too shabby before, but now he was way, way above average. A dragon, indeed. It started off as a slow smile, a smirk blown below of laughter that sounded like a deranged psychopath. Issei couldn't control himself as he put the foot on the stool and assumed victorious pose. I'm officially OP. Not to mention I'm packing some seriously dangerous weaponry. Whew. Harem out, here I come, shouted Issei as a silly jig around the cottage, which, given his dangerous looks and an aura he gave off, looked utterly ridiculous. Drake, as hard as he tried, could not stop his palm counting his face. It's times like these when he questions his sanity for going along with the crazy shenanigans of his partner. Issei paid no mind, and bipolar dragon struck his left arm and left himself carried away by ridiculously overactive imagination. Issei's delusion synquis. Issei stared across the woman before him. She had a long, black flowing hair that reached above her bubby, perfectly sculpted ass, with X E-cut breasts and thin, narrow waist that flared out. He's imagining all this. The delusion ends. What a naughty girl you are. You need to be punished, mumbled Issei with a shamelessly perverted expression, his face and his hands moving in a very lewd manner. So it's not really surprising to find out our resident dragon in a boosted gear was seriously creeped the fuck out. Would you stop being a dumbass for 5 minutes and do what you came here to do before we get back to training? Protested Drake. He could feel the damage that was inflicted on him. Mentally increasing, he seriously felt like crying. Ha! Okay, you got a little carried away, but you have to admit, I look so damn good, stated Issei, with his newfound self-confidence, causing Drake to roll his eyes as he watched his partner skip off to the bathroom. Scene change. We find our favorite protagonist doing some stretches on a wide open field of grass and dirt. Dressed in just a pair of cargo shirts and sneakers, he was warming himself up for his training to begin. Okay, Drake, I'm ready. Where do we begin? Questioned Issei.
Good. I want to sit in a cross-legged position and let yourself relax and meditate, stated Drake, to which everything became silent. You could literally hear the crickets chirping around, that is, until Issei exploded into action.
Meditate? Meditate? Are you fucking kidding me? I went through all that trouble and lots of excruciating and mind-numbing pain to get a body that was built for destruction, and you're telling me to fucking meditate? Protested Issei incuriously. He really worried if the Opie dragon made it damage the mind of the Welch dragon. Tick marks formed all over Drake's head.
Urusai, the last time I checked, I'm the one with 1,000 years of experience, so instead of whining like a little bitch, just shut up and meditate, roared the dragon, causing Issei to sweat drop. Sheesh, no need to get your panties in a twist, I'm getting into it, grumbled Issei, as he assumed the lotus position, evened out his breathing. He had prior experience of doing during this time, trying to delve into sacred gear, which he assumed that is what Drake is aiming for. After what felt like hours, when in reality it was only 15 minutes, he experienced a weightless sensation overtake his body. At his feet hit solid ground and opened his eyes into the world of fire and brimstone with a 30-foot monster of a dragon before him. Drake, so what's up? He questioned. Now that you've got your body that you wanted, what are your plans going forward? Questioned Drake.
Issei just scratched his head. To be honest with you, after the whole Dragonheart and Phoenix Tears transformation, I'm not really sure what else is possible for me to do. I plan on continuing my physical training and also alter the sacred gear, stated Issei. Drake rose his imaginary eyebrow.
Alter the sacred gear? Are you saying there is something currently wrong with it? Probed Drake, with this certainly undercut in his voice. He did not appreciate Issei implying the sacred gear needed fixing.
No. Jeez, don't take things the wrong way. There's Nothing wrong with the abilities of the sacred gear. I meant that I just wanted to customize its appearance. I wanted to reflect my rebirth as well, which is why I wanted to create an almost subspecies-like base form and balance breaker. It will still be the same boosted gear, just with a unique distinctive appearance exclusive to me, sets apart from the rest of the previous host, added Issei, hastily not too keen on facing the wrath of a pissed-off heavenly dragon. Drake scrutinized him for a few minutes before blowing fire from his nostrils.
Very well, those terms are acceptable,
acquiesced Drake, allowing to Issei a breath of relief.
Seeing as though you were complaining about me, about the time issue, as well as being directionless in your training, I believe I have a solution for that as well, a set of skills perfectly suited for you. I also plan on letting you unlock an ability of the sacred gear that hasn't been used by any of the previous hosts. Whenever you're ready, we'll go meet the people who will help train you, stated Drake.
Issei, upon hearing this, became excited. He couldn't wait to test out his new abilities. Let's get to it, he stated. After which he felt weightless sensation take over his body, once more as he felt himself fall deeper into the sacred gear. After a while, these sensations finally regained his bearings. As he looked around, he immediately recognized his surroundings. He stood in a vast white space with the tables and chairs tastefully decorating the place. There are a bar on the left with bar stools running down with the length of it. The place was filled with people. He couldn't count all of them, but we were at least 30 plus. This wasn't a dreamscape or mindscape or handscape. He wasn't really sure. What he did know that this was the place that the past host of the boosted gear resided. It became available to him after he used the Juggernaut Drive. These were the voices that normally tempted him when he was in a bad situation. Tempted him to unleash the Juggernaut Drive and destroy everything. Naturally, he was immediately on guard. He noticed a striking difference though. Normally when he appeared here, the senpais remained blurry and unrecognizable. Now though, he could see the face perfect clarity. He was unsure what that meant for him. Hey, Issei Hyoudou, looks like you're in a pinch. You need some direction. You are facing a worthy opponent. Those were the verses of the previous senpai. It's the first time he's heard them speak. Now he took a closer look into the senpais wearing tuxedos, holding onto wine, looking like a gentleman, and sitting on the chairs with elegance. One of the senpais shaking the wine glass with no wine inside, and it says to me with a speech tone of a gentleman. Foo. To get out of a situation like this, we can only use that, correct? What do you mean by that? Yes, we can only use that. That must be it. The senpai started to agree with each other. This flow. You guys aren't telling me to use Juggernaut Drive, right? I was worried that they must say something dangerous again, but the senpai shook their fingers and sighed and said, No, wrong. Yes, we already have a guaranteed from Juggernaut Drive. We are introduced to something even more great for you. Yes, the power of breast. Huh? What the heck are you guys saying, these idiotic senpais? They are wearing clothes of gentlemen, so I was wondering what they were going to say. And they said power of a breast? This is outrageous. Thing that Sensei predicted, and that is different from the power confirmed. Shit. Why are these senpais putting us such a bright face even if I said that? The senpais aren't listening to me and creates a vision of air of world void. What appeared is a breast? Let's depend on the breast. Yes, that source of Opie dragon who protects the future. We became gentlemen. Who enjoys breast after connecting with you? This really doesn't feel bad. What are these guys muttering about? I don't get it. Senpai then put on a serious face and said with a serious tone, Issei Hyoudou, you were once called the weakest Seikiyuti. A shameless pervert, never amount to anything, yet your straightforward narrative and sheer grit and determination made you one of the most powerful figures in the world today. You've shown us how foolish we once were, getting drunk on power and rampaging mindlessly, but you have shown a bright, beautiful light in once dark world. You cleansed a millennia of hatred with your charismatic personality, and freed us from the once chains that we're once bound by. You've shown us a future worthy fighting for. You have also shown us the glorious of Opie. That's why we decided to help you in your ventures. We, who have a lifetime of experience and multitude of the field, will give you training knowledge and abilities that will make you shine, as well as you gain in groping a lot of Opie in the future. Go forth in the world of true power of the Seikiyuti. Issei just stood there, shocked. He couldn't believe it. The senpais of the boosted gear were banding together to train him, some of the greatest warriors to exist. Probably with deadly skills to match. Knew he could learn a lot from them. He knew it was safe. He trusted Drake who sent him here. So, how are you going to help me? He questioned exactly. Every day, you can go through your regular physical training, but at night when you sleep, we will pull you into the sacred gear where you will train in certain arts that will stick with you mentally, and the next day you could practice and perfect it in the real world, stated Dandy Senpai. Another senpai who looked like Dumbledore from Harry Potter stepped forward. Regarding the issue of your time to train for your match, when I was still alive, I delved into many arcane and mysterious branches of magic. One magic is time dilation field, which allows the user to temporarily slow down the speed of time in a limited area. Uses your new magic reserves as well as the boosted gear, whilst in temporary possession of your own body. I can create a field big enough to encompass your training area that will extend 2 months to you currently have about 8 months, stated the senpai Issei, now dubbed Wizard Senpai. Issei looked at him with stars in his eyes. Sugoi! It's like the hyperbolic time shaper from Dragon Ball, exclaimed Issei excitedly. Wizard Senpai just sweat dropped at him, inched further away from him. Another senpai walked forward, and this one looked amazingly similar to Bruce Lee from the old Kung Fu movies. And that is where we're going to stop for now in part 2. I know this one was only about 36 minutes long, but you guys have to think about this. I actually recorded every single one of these in one day. So it was kind of hard to record a lot because my voice is basically lost, as you can tell, when I was recording and taking deep breaths, because it's very hard to do the voices at the same time in the same day. And that's why I usually do it every other day. But yeah, you get the point. Don't worry, I'm not sick. I'm just extremely tired. I needed to record these as soon as possible due to the fact that I will be in school. So I'm going to have some time to adjust to my new schedule, and then I'll go back to regularly uploading. And when I mean regularly, I mean about 2 to 3 times a week, and not the everyday thing that I've been doing as of right now. Goku, What If Son Goku are coming in the future to gain a bigger audience, because I really want to see some unique votes on my poll and not just all about High School DxD. As you know, I love Dragon Ball, I love Naruto, and I love High School DxD, and to see the community smashed together like that would be one of my dreams come true, I'm not gonna lie. I'd love to see people debate over Issei versus Goku, Goku versus, Naruto, my bad, not Goku versus Naruto, we all know how that goes, or Goku, versus Issei, of course, and always Naruto versus Issei, because I know the Naruto fans are going to think that's a matchup when they have to come to the light of the DxD side, and hopefully I can get them interested in the show, shining light on the show. So thank you so much for the support, and without further ado, let's try to hit 1,000 likes once again if you're in the premiere still, and without further ado, subscribe to my other channels as well. You guys thought I was really bad on the video? No, but actually, without further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD